Okay, so the Contra series in general has been around for a very long time, since like the late 80s. And I believe that time period, along with the early 90s, is where the Contra series peaked in terms of popularity. Because you look at the 2000s, we did get Contra games that came out during the 2000s decade. But the thing is, a lot of those games got overlooked. You had Contra 4 from '07, Contra Rebirth from '09, you had Neo Contra from '04, and you look at the teens decade, we didn't really get like hardly any Contra games except the most recent installment, Rogue Corps, which came out in 2019, and Hard Corps Uprising from 2011. And the thing is, a lot of people thought that Rogue's Corpse was not really a good game. It had a lot of potential, and the trailer was very, fascinating. It really got people into it, especially because since it was like 3D and the dialogue and the way it was presented, all that stuff made Contra Rogue Corpse a game that people would want to buy. But once they bought it and they played it, they thought that it fell below their expectations. And seeing how that game got such a low rating from various gaming publications. It's very unclear, uncertain that, or whether or not Konami is going to release another Contra game in the future. I feel like the reason why Contra Rogue Corps was released is because Hard Corps Uprising from 2011 was actually a pretty solid game. It was a pretty decent game. Um, the difficulty curve in that game was one of the main points of criticism, but for the most part, like the graphics and the characters and the storyline from Hard Corps Uprising were all things that people loved about the game. And it was a 2D side-scrolling run and gun type of game. And the thing is, when it comes down to the Contra series, I feel like that's the formula that normally works for those type of games. Because you look at like most of the main Contra games, like dating back to 1987, they were all side-scrolling run and gun games. Now, the run and gun genre of gaming in general has greatly declined in popularity over the years because a lot of people have different preferences when it comes down to gaming, and normally it's within the genres of action adventure, within the within the genre of I guess first person shooter, RPG, action RPG, you name it. And gaming has evolved a lot since Contra became a thing, and I feel like for the most part that's one of the reasons why Contra's not as popular as it once was. I mean, it's not because the storylines are not compelling. It's just that maybe it's tough for, I guess, the series, the franchise, and for Konami to try and I guess make the gameplay up to par with today's standards of gaming. Because nowadays, 2D side scrolling gameplay, even though like at times it could be compelling, it's not the norm. It's not as popular as it once was for the most part. And Contra Rogue's Corpse, I feel like it was way too hokey, and it lacked like a certain urgency that would make you become emotionally invested in the game. And like with that being said, I don't think we're ever going to get like a major Contra game, but at the same time, I mean, Konami could possibly release a Contra game later down the line if the demand is high enough to make another Contra game. But I'm not even sure if Contra Rogue Corps was canon or not. I know Hard Corps Uprising was canon because it took place between I guess the first Contra game and Contra Hard Corps, and a lot of people like that game in general. I mean, I feel like that's a game that definitely deserves a remake or deserve to be remastered later down the line. But as far as whether or not the Contra series is still a thing, I'm not even sure. I haven't really heard anybody talk about Contra within the past couple of years or so, and and for the most part, I don't think its appeal is ever going to be what it once was. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people wouldn't mind like HD remakes of the older Contra games, like Contra Hard Corps or Super Contra or Operation C or anything like that. Hell, you even throw Contra 4 in there as far as as potential remakes are concerned. But the thing is, I don't think too many people are talking about Contra right now. They're not necessarily um, not lobbying for like a remake of any of the older Contra games or anything like that. So I'm not exactly sure if we're ever going to see another Contra game, and I'm not even sure whether or not we're going to get a remake for any of the older Contra games. I think a lot of people have just moved on for the most part, and I think for the most part, Konami has bigger fish to fry in relation to upcoming video games in general.